Monday morning, Eagle Nation, as we get set for another edition of Inside Eagle Nation Live here from Hanner Fieldhouse. Colin Lacy alongside the voice of the Eagles, Danny Reed. Got a special guest here in the studio today, Izzy Ptacek, and it may take half the episode to explain everything she does. First off, track and cross-country runner, SAAC president, newly elected SAAC president.
Yes.
Is a intern through the Apex program with Georgia Southern Sports Properties. I'm probably leaving off about half of what she does.
But you could have a bunch of subsets from just that, from what she's done with GSSP for the last little bit.
Oh, no doubt. Izzy, appreciate you joining us.
Hey, I appreciate you having me.
So, first and foremost, having to do this one a little bit earlier than normal, because later today is going to get a little hectic.
No, this is a birthday edition. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Colin. That's the most important thing going on today. Oh, and that you're having a baby.
That's the undercard.
That's the other, yeah.
But yeah, that is why we are here on a Monday morning. Normally, we like Monday mornings as much as you do. But later tonight, I'm going to start inducing Rachel. And so baby probably won't be here till tomorrow, Wednesday, something like that. But having to move this up.
And you still don't know what it is.
No. Really
wow.
don't.
You are
I
a
couldn't do
brave
that.
person, yeah.
No, Rachel is a brave person.
Okay.
And the last 9 months proved it. But joined by Izzy Ptacek, and first and foremost, getting to know you over the summer since you started working with Georgia Southern Sports Properties, how you do everything you do is absolutely mind-blowing.
You know what? It's honestly mind-blowing for me, too. If I'm being completely honest.
So
It's a lot.
First and foremost, track and field cross-country runner here for Georgia Southern. When did you really get excited and into running competitively?
So when I was in elementary school, I owe my love for running to my mother. She's been running since she was in high school, went to college, ran, and then ran all throughout my childhood. So I was doing, Girls on the Run in elementary school, and then really competitively running in middle school. So I've been running for about 8 years now.
How'd you end up here?
So I was recruited by, I want to say like 5 or 6 different schools. And honestly, Georgia Southern wasn't necessarily on my radar. It was 3.5 hours from home. I wanted to be a little bit closer. But the coaches that I had when I first came in were awesome to me. They made it feel like a family. And that's the biggest reason why I came. It wasn't about money or anything like that.
We just mentioned you are now the SAAC president for Georgia Southern Student Athlete Advisory Committee. Just started your tenure, your presidency a couple of weeks ago.
Yes, sir.
You've been here at Georgia Southern for a couple of years now, starting your junior season technically. Why was it so important for you to get involved in SAAC?
So it's funny. I was elected, so you have to be elected to be on SAAC by a team member and a coach. When I first got here as a freshman, I didn't do it my freshman year because you're not allowed to. But towards the end of my freshman year, someone had asked me, hey, do you want to be on SAAC? It was one of my teammates that used to be here. And I was like, I have no idea what that is, but sure, I'll do it. And then when I really started to get involved with SAAC was last year. I guess it was September. We had started to break out into committees. So SAAC has the Guspies, athletes supporting athletes, social media, and community service. And I was like, I'll do Guspies. That was a fun event to go to the past year. And Haley Pruitt walks up to our table once we're in committees, and she's like, so who wants to be the head of the committee? And I was like, no one was raising their hand. I was sitting there, and I was like, I'll do it. And that was honestly a life-changing moment for me, because if I wasn't head of Guspies committee and been with Terry working on it as much as I was, I wouldn't be where I am today. That's for sure.
Talk about what SAAC does for those that may not know exactly what the Student Athlete Advisory Committee does. You just got back from New Orleans as part of the leadership for Georgia Southern down in the Sun Belt Conference meetings, but what exactly does the Student Athlete Advisory Committee do here on Statesboro?
So what my job is I am a communication line between senior admin and head coaches and student athletes. But SAAC's job is to make sure that we're getting out into the community and doing everything that we can to make the student athlete experience better, but also make sure that everyone from Georgia Southern is involved with athletics.
What's it been like working with the relatively new administration with Jared, Chris, and everybody?
Awesome. I love Jared and Chris. They are just so awesome to work with, especially Haley Pruitt. Hey, you said, how do you do all that you do? Ask Haley Pruitt that question. Ask Haley Pruitt. She is amazing. But yeah, I trust them with every decision that they've made, especially, I'm sure we'll get to that in a minute, bringing in new coaches, but they're awesome.
You started with the Apex program again this summer, working with Georgia Southern Sports Properties, Terry, Cam, Taylor, and that crew. When you you talked about getting to know Terry through the Guspies process, but what really made you want to get into the Apex program and get with Georgia Southern Sports Properties?
So I didn't really know. I don't know what I want to do right in this moment after graduation, but I thought that, working with Terry and kind of seeing the sales side of things and building professional relationships would be a good first start. And he was so good to Logan and I, working on the Guspies. And I was like, this would be a great first step to kind of see where I'd like to go in my career.
All right, since you've been involved on our side, what have you gotten your hands on thus far?
I think the biggest thing is building professional relationships. You can be taught that in a classroom, but until you put it into practice, it really means nothing. And so that's been the biggest thing that I've gotten out of this experience so far. And then also seeing how everything works behind the scenes. And from a student athlete perspective, it's so interesting to see what you guys do for us and how little we know about it and what all has to be done to make this whole athletic department work as a well-oiled functioning machine.
We had Glenn Hart on here a couple of weeks ago to talk about the Apex program, but as a student athlete, how cool is it to have that at your disposal, being able to take advantage of all of it?
It's amazing. It's amazing that we even have that. And going back to being at the Sunbelt Conference this past weekend, I had learned that there's a lot of schools that don't have all that we have, like Sports Psych, Apex, all the committees that we have through SAAC. And I'd like to say thank you to everyone before me that has made this what it is for me to make it even better than that,
You talk about being in New Orleans last weekend, being able to not only get the ideas of student athletes here at Georgia Southern, but connect with everybody in the leadership roles of SAAC across the Sunbelt Conference and the conference office as a whole. What was that experience like for you, just starting with the leadership side of it?
So it was amazing. Going into it, I was like, are people not going to share their ideas because it's a competitive conference? But going into it, everyone was open to giving advice and saying, this is how my SAAC committee runs and this is how my school runs. Let's all try to make each other better as a conference so we can really stand out to conferences like SEC and Big Ten. And yeah.
What are the goals for SAAC at Georgia Southern coming into this athletic year?
So, I can't share a whole lot. We have a SAAC meeting tonight. There's some things in the works after seeing JMU. They came in, they're new to the conference. Hearing a lot about what they have done in the past couple of years was really eye-opening. And, I thought we were doing a lot, but there's still more to be done. So, have me back in about 3 months and I'll let you know.
So we'll book it for October.
Maybe November when my season's over.
Yeah.
All right, sometime in November.
Let's get her finished, done running and winning championships and all that. You were a big part of what SAAC does, but you will be the first to say that you are not doing it alone. And you're not the one doing New Orleans alone. Last week, you had the rest of your administration or leadership side of it for SAAC. Talk about those folks and how big of a part they play.
So Emily Jones and Rebecca Farthing. Emily Jones is a swimmer. Rebecca is a volleyball player. I couldn't do what I do without them. That is 100% for sure. They are amazing. Emily Jones, so she is the vice president, head of community service. She took a lot of those ideas, and she was already texting me in the meeting. She's texting me like, we got to do this. And I'm like, yes, girl, let's do it. And then Rebecca, she's in charge of social media, and our social media has been pretty active this summer, and we have even more ideas coming up for this year. So they're awesome. I wouldn't change who I have beside me for anything.
You alluded to it a little bit earlier, a change in the track and field cross-country program this offseason. New head coach David Neville coming down from Knoxville in Tennessee, and he just announced the rest of his staff last week. We'll jump into the news and notes part while we have you here. But James Isaac going to be with the jumpers and multi-event athletes, and then also Megan Murray going to be heavily involved with you with the cross-country and distance. She ran at both Tennessee and Michigan State, just finishing up her master's at Michigan State this past semester. But to have a whole new regime in, you talked about how being a part of the process, or a small part of the process of getting them here to Statesboro, and the admin being able to do what they did. Talk about what that process is like from the student-athlete point of view.
Nerve-wracking, for sure. And I mean, all you can do is pray that, Jared and Coach Neville, even when Coach Neville was coming in, just hoping that they bring in a great coach. And from what I've seen so far in the meetings that I've had with him, he is. And then, the two assistant coaches, just hoping that Tracy and Glenn and Jared and Chris would assist them to bring in the best people. And so far, I think we have the right people for the job.
Getting not just James Madison into the league, but also Marshall, Southern Miss, Old Dominion. How does getting so many different perspectives from not just other schools, but other conferences, other regions, how beneficial was that?
It was different to hear because, they had said, I guess they were in which conference were they before? Especially Marshall and JMU.
JMU was down in FCS.
And then American Conference or something.
The other three would have been Conference USA.
Conference USA, yeah. So they had a lot of ideas and a lot of perspectives. It was enlightening to hear what other conferences were doing and how we could do better. And like I said, I was nervous going into the meetings that people weren't, it was discussion based. And I was afraid that people weren't going to come in and, share their ideas to make the conference better, but it blew away any expectation that I had. And hearing what the American Conference, Conference USA was doing, and then JMU, let me just say, JMU is killing it SAAC-wise. I think I took, I have a whole page of notes from what JMU is doing and what we can implement into our SAAC, but yeah, it was awesome.
Good.
We talked about your crazy schedule. You do a million things, but where does kind of that commitment, because when you're doing something, you're not just half in. You're all in all the time. Where does that come from for you?
Well, if I'm being completely honest, my faith. I could not do it without my faith in God. That's for sure. That's how I handle everything that I have on my plate.
What's this summer been like, not only having to juggle everything that you've got, but also being able to be a part with Georgia Southern Sports Properties and be around Terry and Cam and Taylor? Awesome.
I love Terry. He's amazing. He's a great mentor. So is Cam. So is Taylor. So are you guys. And seeing how all of it works. So my biggest project so far was going through all the contracts and seeing what we offer to all of our clients, and just seeing what you guys can sell to get some money in here so we can be a successful athletic department. It's been great.
She's also gunning for our jobs.
Maybe. John at Learfield, or Mr. John.
Careful.
She came in and wrote her own radio spot and recorded it last week. And we were in there for what, 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Ish?
helpy helper. That's an inside joke. I guess I'll explain it.
Yeah, one of the scripts that I wrote didn't jive.
But this is
really didn't.
This is one that Eagle Nation's going to hear in about 6 weeks,
Hopefully.
give or take.
Hopefully. This is for a potential new partner, and Izzy wrote and recorded it. And in the 30 minutes we were in there, she nailed it. Because by the end of it, she would read a line. She's like, I don't like how that. Roll that back. Like,
Run that back. Run that back.
Who taught you that? She nailed it.
Hey, I appreciate you saying that. It was a fun experience, getting to see what you guys do, because I saw a little bit of it at baseball regionals, which, holy moly, was that an experience for everyone in this athletic department. But yeah, it was cool being up there sitting with you guys and then actually being able to do it myself. It was awesome.
Finally, before we let you go, everybody talks about the excitement around Georgia Southern athletics kind of from the outside looking in. Being a student athlete here for Georgia Southern, how much excitement is around the student athlete community?
Oh, it's amazing. And I will say, being at the Sunbelt SAAC meeting, talking about how involved all of our alumni and our donors and really our athletic department, it was so crazy to hear that other schools don't have what we have. It was crazy to me. And I'm just so grateful to be at the school that I'm at and have an athletic department that we do, have you guys, have our donors, have our alumni as involved, because you can't find this anywhere else. You really can't. Hail Southern, GATA, no place else.
Izzy, appreciate you joining us this morning.
Hey,
getting
thanks
to
for having
know
me.
you this summer. You're a rock star and a huge representation of what Georgia Southern is. Appreciate you.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Once again, Izzy Ptacek, a track and cross country runner for Georgia Southern, and an absolute rock star.
She is a pistol.
Oh, I love it.
Terry's also got to train well.
Yeah, there's no
Very
doubt. Now, maybe a little too well, because sometimes when her and Terry start telling stories, it gets a little off the rails.
She's one of the few that can match Terry in terms of storytelling.
Oh, there's no doubt.
We got Roger. We had a new Eagle Tale come out this morning about Terry and his first trip to Gainesville in '86. But I would think that you put those three around a table, you may not leave that day.
No, not for a while at least. But appreciate Izzy coming by, a huge representation of what Georgia Southern Athletics is from the student athlete side, and student athlete advisory committee president, intern through the Apex program with Georgia Southern Sports Properties. A huge future for Izzy, there is no doubt.
She started with us and she's still here, so we must be doing
We
something.
haven't run her off yet.
I know.